karaoke at the NovaCare Complex. Song. We made a trade with the Indianapolis Colts. We moved up to the 49th pick. We traded our 5th-round pick, and we selected Dallas Goedert, a tight end from South Dakota State. Really excited about him and his fit as a player, as a person for our program. He was a guy that we had our eye on. Coach and his staff are really excited about the ways that they can utilize him. The more good players that we have on offense, the more weapons we have for our quarterback, for our head coach, the better we think we'll be. So it was a great opportunity for us. He was among the players that we had grouped at 32, so we wanted to make sure that we got one of those guys, and that's why we made the move up.
When you moved up, did the retirement of Jason Witten help influence the decision to move up ahead of the Cowboys?
For us, we just wanted to make sure that we came at it today with one of the group of guys that we had from yesterday's list. And when those guys started to go, we wanted to make sure that we felt really good about our first pick. And so we started making calls, and it ended up that we were able to do a deal with Indianapolis. Obviously, relationship with Indianapolis, their head coach, their GM. So, it was a win-win situation.
Howie, 2 years ago, before after you drafted Carson Wentz, you were asked who he reminded you of most of, and you said Brent Selleck. We got another Dakota in here. What kind of a work ethic does he have? Is it similar to Brent and to Carson?
Yeah, I'll defer to Joe and his scouts and to talk about the player, guys who went into the school and did a lot of background on him. So, Joe.
Yeah, our guys did a great job. Mike Bradway went in there in the fall, did a great job for us. And Dallas is a blue-collar kid that works extremely hard. And for him, just specifically, I know touched on a couple questions last week, but this is a guy we felt dominated at that level of play. Last 2 years, put up excellent production, and had an opportunity to go to Senior Bowl. Got hurt early, but before he got hurt, he showed a lot of promising traits. And so another thing that when he stepped up, played TCU 2 years ago, he had an outstanding game. So those were some of the things that jumped out to us.
Doug, how do you see him fitting with Zach Ertz in the offense?
Well, right now we'll get him in here. We'll try to, get him educated, get him caught up, with the system. But right now we're just excited to have him, get him in there in the mix, get him in that tight end room, get him with Coach Peel, and see where he's at. Get his level of comfort up. But it's gonna add some depth and competition to the position. Obviously, it's he's a tremendous player, tremendous asset, a weapon for us that I think we can utilize with some of the things you saw last year with Trey Burton and having him on the field as well with Zach. So it's exciting to get him to have a pick like this, a player like this, to add to our roster, and we'll get him in here in a couple of weeks and get him going.
We talked to Zach last week or a week before. He mentioned how complex your offense is for a tight end.
Who did you talk to?
Zach Ertz. He mentioned how complex the offense is for a tight end. What's realistic to expect from a rookie learning it?
Well, we got to go. Just got to sort of, I don't want to say spoon-fed, but you just got to go, piece by piece. You got to start from the ground floor and work up, and it's a unique position because there's run and pass involved. There's route running and there's blocking schemes. So we'll begin slow. He's a smart kid. He's gonna learn fast, and it shouldn't take him long at all to get into the mix and get him going.
Joe, in that vein, Doug talked about the blocking. He's obviously got big receiving numbers. What did you see from him that makes you project him on that aspect of the game?
Saw a high level competitor, first of all. With any player, not even talking about the level of play, but with any player coming in, there's going to be some technique refinement. So we're gonna help him there, and feel that Justin Peel is going to do a great job helping him with technique at the point of attack as a blocker.
Was there one trait or maybe a couple of traits that stood out the most?
I mean, his size stands out. We thought that he ran well. Just on the tape, you see a guy that can separate, the top of routes, and a guy that's going to be a friend of the quarterback.
Howie, it's been since 2013, the last time you took a tight end. In going into this draft, was that a priority to come away with a young tight end at that?
Yeah, I think we wanted to stick to our board, but we felt like that there were different levels of tight ends in this draft, and that there was going to be an opportunity at some point. Just looking how it shook out, we weren't sure when that was going to happen, but we were really excited. When you make your head coach wait 49 picks for the first player, it's nice to make him happy a little bit, and I just know, seeing his reaction when we made that trade and the excitement of the things he can do, and that makes us, in what we do, really. Excited to get a guy like this when you see his reaction, his staff's reaction. So it's exciting thing about the matchups, and obviously we got a Pro Bowl caliber tight end right there, and you think about the combinations, and so it's exciting for our football team and our organization.
We talked last
In
week
terms of
about
tight ends, where did he rank among the group for you guys?
Oh, he's at the top. That's why we picked him, man.
Did the process continue of running some of these prospects by Carson, and how influential was he in this, especially given the FCS ties?
No, I think that we've talked about through the offseason, Coach Pederson talks about ownership and our communication with our players, but when it comes to the draft, that's hard. It's hard to go to our players and say, hey, here's 5 guys to look at or anything like that, and I think, obviously Carson has a relationship with this kid, and they share an agent, and so he's a guy that obviously Carson was familiar with. So, he's been around the building, kind of talking to us about him a little bit, and he's excited. I know just from the text some of us have gotten in the conversations, the quarterbacks are excited, and it's, Joe said it best, this is a friend for the quarterback, and.
We talked last week about how tight ends have increasingly. Did you need more?
You're done.
I guess I am. It's like Tim's asking a question, I'm giving a nice answer, and it's boom. No, you can finish.
No, your turn.
We talked last week about how tight ends have changed a lot over the last decade or so. Doug, can you talk a little bit about how what kind of mismatches they cause? We've seen it with Zach. Linebackers sometimes have a tough time keeping up with them. Safeties, can you talk a little bit about those mismatches?
Yeah, what you're seeing, I think, with the tight end, it's changed since obviously since I was in the league, where they were more big physical guys, inline point of attack type guys, that secondary was running routes. The guys today are route runners that can block in line. That's their primary jobs and focuses and things that they emphasize. And this kid is one of those guys. He's as Joe mentioned, he's elusive. He's got good routes, running ability, good route skills. He's got some refining to do. Those are all things that once we get him in here, we start teaching him and teaching our system and get him caught up and how we block, how we use our tight ends in schemes. We're not a big point, inline tight end scheme team, and we move our guys around a lot, and so this will benefit him, and it benefited Zach, it benefited Trey, and it's benefited Selleck. So, he's going to be a good fit for us, good fit for the room. Zach's going to be a great mentor to him, and excited to get him in here.
Going back to your days,
I feel like we're on an airplane. Howie block? Howie blocks.
Howie blocks. Howie blocks well.
Sorry. This week of laugh.
The run on running backs like earlier in the second round. I know you traded obviously out of the first round and stuff. Was that a possibility for you guys? If one of those guys had fallen to you and all that.
It depends who was on the board. Obviously we had a group of guys that when we left last night that we were targeting today, and we knew that those first few picks were going to go fast and furious. And when you come into a second day or a third day, a lot of times people have their eyes on the same guys. So we understood that there was going to be a race when it started, and we just wanted to make sure that we came out of this day with someone we felt really good about. Same kind of group that we talked about last night. So we feel that way today, and at the same time, we're excited about tomorrow. Tomorrow's a big opportunity for our football team. Joe and his staff have done a great job preparing for tomorrow, and it's the day that we come out with more than one guy. So we felt like, looking back in the past 2 days, just to summarize, getting a guy who could potentially impact our offense was a big focus for us when we met the last couple weeks. getting a second-round pick, getting some assets for next year, and now going into tomorrow and making sure that we do a great job tomorrow. So that's where we're at, and look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow.
Going back to your days with the Packers, it seems like 12 personnel with Tiger has always been something you've been associated. What is it about that really excites you and makes you want to have that within your offensive scheme?
Well, it's beneficial a couple reasons. One, it's in the run game. You know, you got some bigger bodies. A lot of times, you see the fullback position. You know, it's kind of a few teams have a fullback position. They're using a second or third tight end, so it gives you the ability to run more power schemes and gap schemes and move that second tight end around a little bit and utilize him in the run game. You know, and then it creates matchups. If he's an athletic guy like a Zach Ertz, we can move him around. We can spread him out. He's good in space. He understands, a spatial awareness. He's great in man coverage because he can separate at the top of the route. Those become big bodies on smaller bodies, and those are the matchups that we try to create through game planning and through studying our opponents. And then that's what, having two tight ends, having that 12 personnel, we call it Tiger personnel on the field, allows us to do. And that's what we've been able to do the first 2 years, and we'll continue that now with the complement of players that we have in that tight end room.
Last night you felt comfortable trading back because you thought you'd be able to get a comparable talent player at 52. Were you prepared that might not happen? You'd have to trade back up to get a guy?
Yeah, that was a lot of the conversations we had today. Was just obviously we didn't have a lot of picks, and we didn't want to go into anything next year, so we didn't want to give up something if we didn't have to. But at the same token, once guys started to go on our list of guys that we were considering at 32, we wanted to make sure we came out of someone we felt really good about, and that's why we made the move here to go get Dallas. And I think you saw just in our draft room, we were excited about it, and that's part about this moment. We sat down this week, and we just try to make a list of guys we'd be excited to get, and we want to come down after every pick and be excited to get them, and that's always the focus of when we go into these days of excited, from a front office scouting perspective, a coaching perspective, and when you get that, you feel really good about it. So that's where we are.
All right, thanks, Ed.
Thank you.